The far majority of Saber's strife has always been rooted in the fact that she's just too righteous to let go. Yet you have Morgan out here creating and turning their own child against her, and a lot of people seem to disregard this on purpose. Now, I can't speak on what Morgan does in LB6 because it isn't out yet. I'm NA and I don't get into spoilers like that. But what I do know is prior to that version of the character existing, they championed her for what she did. They championed her for turning Mordred against Artoria and somehow blatantly placed the blame on Artoria for that as well. Because of things like that, all of the other issues going on with the Round Table, Lancelot seeking his revenge also fell on her. People like Tristan having his fair share of words, leaving, and then later on in FGO saying that he wasn't in his right mind. It made her feel like she failed. She didn't fail. She did as good as humanly possible up until a point. It was just an onslaught of unfortunate events that was completely out of her control. But the people took it that way. That's why things like the King's Banquet, for me at least, is hard to take serious because they didn't go through what she went through. And I know I stand alone on that one, and that's fine. They didn't go through what she went through. Their kingdoms didn't implode. The way that Iskander was said to have gone down was for reasons completely unrelated to the way Artoria went down. Gilgamesh, what happened to him was in direct correlation to the way that he treated his people. He needed that, but it turned out good. He got a chance to fix it. His kingdom also didn't implode. Other than being kings, they can't really speak on what she did because they have no idea. When you ask somebody who actually knew Artoria, like Lancelot, who in the story of Zero said, "Hey, you were a great king. I'm the one that did wrong. I'm just mad that you didn't scold me." When you ask somebody that actually knew her, like Tristan, he said in FGO, "Hey, it's not that you didn't understand the people. I was tripping. I didn't understand the scope of the situation." Am I saying that she's faultless? Obviously not, because I know people like to get on here and twist words, but those are the type of things that led to her making this decision. In the Garden of Avalon, she talked about how she could accept her death wholeheartedly. What she couldn't accept was all of the things that was going on around her at the last minute. It's like all of the efforts that she had made through her life to be inhuman and have her better reign had been negated in the last moments. If she had known things were gonna turn out the way that they did, then she would have just lived like Gilgamesh or Iskander. That's her biggest flaw. It's not that she wanted to fix it, it's that she tried to fix it. So in the canon of the Fate Stay Night novel, in the last moments of her life when she's on the field, we're told that the world appeared before her and asked her to make a contract. She's the one that set the trend for these type of servants later on down the road, albeit through different methods, but the fact still remains. The world tells her, "Hey, I will allow you to come back to this hill as many times as you need to recover the Grail, and if you succeed, I will give you a chance to grant your wish." She even goes as far to say that she wants to redo the sword selection and have somebody else reign as king. The reason why Shiro is in such disagreement with this is because this version of King Arthur, Artoria, would still go on to live fighting for the Grail even if she happens to attain her wish. The contract was a binding agreement. Until she obtains the Grail, her role in the story was framed as a living servant. A servant that's classified as being in limbo and handled differently from all the other ones. When she finally gets the Grail, then she will become a full heroic spirit. But until then, she's technically still alive. She's still on the hill in Camlon, and she will continue to go back to that hill until the contract is completed. And even when she obtains the Grail, she will continue to fight in the wars as the contract stated. Something that I thought about while I was doing this is why. And not why she did the contract, because the story tells you. Why did she get the contract in the first place? So many people are dead set on making Saber the bad, the ignorant, or the stubborn character. Not to say that she doesn't have some faulty traits, because she does. But they have no intention on being placed in her shoes and understanding where she's coming from. And I think they're asking the wrong questions. The better question is, why did the Grail choose her specifically? Out of anybody it could have given this opportunity instead of everybody else. It's almost as if with the Grail itself. The story itself is saying that she deserved another chance. Keep in mind that this is pre-Angra. The Grail is coming to her while she's still alive. This is not the Grail trying to get her to a certain point and pull the rug from under her feet. It genuinely believes this to be a good offer. People forget that the original Grail itself is a holy relic. So the very fact that it chose her and gave her this opportunity says more about her than anybody's opinion on her, really. I can't say that she's wrong for Morgan turning Mordred against her. I can't say that she's wrong for Lancelot getting caught up in his situation and wanting redemption. I can't say that she's wrong for Tristan not understanding the situation when all he did was take it at face value. I mean, how else could he take it? However, you can't change the past, and that's something that she did need to understand. And the whole situation is very similar to what happened to Emiya, which is why it was brought up in UB-Dub. Their stories are very alike. I understand that he wanted to fix it, but he can't. I understand that she wanted to fix it, but she can't. And I think that's why the world chose them out of all the other people, billions of other people, because they are sacred. But at the same time, it needed them to know the extent of their limitations. It's not like the world has feelings. It doesn't determine right or wrong. All it determines is danger. It doesn't recall it giving these contracts to them as an eternal loop of disaster. All it recalls is that it just gave them what they wanted. But I do believe that her and Emiya stand out as very important figures to the world above many other people. It is an unfortunate situation for the both of them. Very tragic. That's why I feel for them. Saber a little bit less than Emiya because there are some ends where things turn out more fortunate for her, but any other time it's tragic nonetheless. All they both ever wanted to do was fix things that were completely out of their control, and not only did they not fix them, but they were infinitely punished for even giving the attempt. Now there are some other things to mention. In a previous video I talked about how certain servants can remember things under specific situations, Saber and Emiya being one of them. Well, this is the reason why. The reason why Saber can remember some things throughout the story is because technically she never died anyway. So what she remembers between Fate Zero and Stay Night is just like walking into the next day. She tried to put on the veil that she didn't remember Kirisugu, but she remembers exactly what he did, their relationship, and what happened in the Fourth Grail War point for point. The reason why the topic doesn't really come up in FGO is because the FGO timeline understands her to have completed this task. In FGO, she is fully a heroic spirit, but this came years after the main timeline of Stay Night. In Stay Night, she's still a living servant. Another thing about her being this type of servant is that she can't go into spirit form. Technically, she's not a full spirit. Usually, the Throne of Heroes will send out a copy of that person's data from the seat, and then they can fight in the war as planned. However, in her case, it can't send out a copy of King Arthur because she's actually him and her contract isn't finished. So unlike most people, she's stuck in physical form. She can't dematerialize like everybody else and save energy, and that's another reason why she has a bigger weight placed on her shoulders. A lot of servants can go into spirit form to heal, to hide, to avoid interactions. She can't. And in a war, this just makes it that much harder. There's plenty other servants like her, although their conditions are different. Their role is specifically locked to their chapters. People like Gilgamesh in Babylonia, he was still alive. Bedivere during Camelot, he was alive, in fact being at least 1500 years old. You have Musashi back in Shimosa, she was alive, and the list goes on.